Hi, my name's Nick Craig, and this is the Purpose to Impact Hour. I want to welcome Tree, who's here from Vietnam. So, welcome, Tree.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for having me here today. I'm really excited to have this podcast with you today.
So, Tree is someone I've known for a long time. I met her about 10 years ago when she was working for Unilever as a senior executive. And since then, in recent times, she's now really gone on a career where she's really focused on the brand of the country of Vietnam. She just finished publishing a book, and there's a number of adventures that we're going on in Vietnam related to purpose in Vietnam. And so we're going to spend some time today talking about all of that. So, Tree, I would love for you to start our conversation with sharing with people your purpose, but also just going back and sharing with us your journey, your childhood. How did you get here? Because I think it's a really powerful story of everything that we're talking about, of what the impact that purpose brings. So, over to you.
Thank you, Nick. My purpose is to dedicate my wisdom, empathy, and magical flow to make the impossible possible. So I was born in Hanoi, Vietnam, and my family actually migrated to Ho Chi Minh when I was a little girl. And I grew up in Vietnam during the post-war period and also after the reform that the country was opened up. So after I graduated from university, started working with Procter Gamble actually,
Okay.
right after uni for a few years. And I got the opportunity to move out of Vietnam. And that is when I start seeing the world outside of Vietnam. So you can see the journey of a girl from Hanoi trying to adapt after the immigration. We still call it immigration because maybe migration, so maybe that's the word.
Okay,
From the north to the south, the migration went to the south. And at that time, there is still a lot of judgment between the north and the south.
Okay.
So because the way we speak in Vietnamese, you can figure out immediately if you're from the north or the south. So I had to learn how to adapt. And in fact, when I went to school, people would kind of tease me, and sometimes they don't like me. And I have to learn and have to adapt to speak the northern way. And then, growing up in the 1980s, when the country going through a lot of economic challenges, sometimes we don't have enough rice to eat, and we have to supplement that with cassava or other stuff. In fact, those days, owning a white dress is already a luxury thing for us.
Okay.
But then, the country has opened up. And in the 1990s, I was graduating, and we start seeing, the program. And the moment that I got the opportunity to get out of Vietnam to start working in the regional and global perspective, I start seeing a lot of things that can be possible that I didn't see possible when I was in the country.
So that gets back to your purpose.
And that's get back to my purpose. And that's why when I start developing my original purpose, more than 10 years ago when I was with you, my purpose was then to unleash trust and freedom to leave a legacy of possibility. Because I see the power of the freedom of what we see what we believe in, and also the trust that we have that can really help us to create and make the impossible possible. And I never thought, to be honest, that I could go out of Vietnam. I never thought I could become a manager in this big company. Honestly, at that point in time, I was just focusing on doing my best.
Yep.
And get out of poverty, to be honest, at that time.
So you were poor growing up.
Yeah. So, but then with the focus on the possibility, the focus on education, using my knowledge, learning a lot from people, from what I see, it's actually helped me to shape me who I am today. So that's why I believe that with the freedom, the trust, we can make the impossible possible. But as we go, and in the last month, when I went back to do the program with you, I have fine-tuned the purpose to dedicate my wisdom, empathy, and magical flow to make the impossible possible. Because at this stage, I've seen that during my journey was most of the time involved in the challenge that actually make me excited. And what I can contribute is the clarity of thoughts, the empathy, and the agility that help to make things more effective. And that is why I think that this is a gift that I can bring to the world, and that's my purpose.
Well, not only to the world, but to Vietnam, because, growing up poor and now that journey that you've been on, and then becoming a senior global leader in a couple of global companies, P&G and Unilever, and being very successful, competing with the world's best, which is, I've worked with these companies and I know it's the best group of people I've worked with in a long time. And you're being in there with them all, and you only did well because you were that good. In some ways, you're probably one of the most senior marketing brand people in Vietnam at this point, based on your experience and background. So there's not that many people who have been on the same journey as you. So that's a powerful thing. But what I find really compelling is that many of the people I know who have done that, they're still sitting in those companies, or they're going on a board, or they're retired, or whatever they're doing. But none of them have said, I'm going to focus on creating the brand for the country. So creating the brand for Vietnam is a whole different level of making the impossible possible, as far as I'm concerned. Yes? So what made you want to do this? Because this looks crazy. Tri.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
First, I think that I have received a lot from this country, even though when I was growing up, our country was poor. Everybody was, poor, honestly. But because of that, it gave us a lot of good lesson, a lot of resilience, and even the education that we receive, the values that we got, that helped us a lot. And that's why at this stage, I do believe that I want to do something for the country in whatever areas that I can do. And branding is one of the areas. And one of the things that I realize is the perception about the country versus the reality of the progress of the country has not been well recognized.
Yep.
And that's why I believe it is the moment. We have to put effort, a very integrated and holistic effort to really build this country branding. We have done a lot in terms of economics. The country has been growing more than 6% year on year for the past 30 years since the reform. We have a lot of things to tell the world aside from just winning the war, but we have a lot of great culture. I don't know if you know, but Vietnam was the place that the French opened the first school of the fine arts in Indochina. We have a lot of great artists. We have great cuisine. Many things that we can tell the world. So I think if they build this country branding, it will give a lot of confidence and pride for every Vietnamese that they can go and, shine and thrive. And the country also continue growing and having a very strong competitive place in this kind of global war.
That's so beautiful. Such a powerful expression of purpose, something bigger than you that you're in service to. And I really feel that as I listen to you, that you really are in service to this bigger cause that really matters not only to you, but has a huge impact on potentially everyone who is Vietnamese. And so, I think that this is a big purpose. Many of us have a more simple purpose in the context of the world we live in and the work we do. And so all of them are okay, but I definitely think that in this moment, the purpose that you're speaking from is incredibly important. And it is its moment in time, but I can imagine that it's a little scary too. Yes, Tri?
It is very scary.
Yeah, let's talk about why is this scary? Because the way you talk, it sounds like it's already happened and everyone should just get on the bus because that's where it's going, right? It's probably
It is very scary. It started from almost 5 years ago when I started having this idea. When I talk to people about this, people would say, why would you do it? Who are you to write this? Who cares? What can you change? So many things. I almost quit this kind of idea many times. But finally, I managed to do it and actually feel that I have won myself, even though I know that maybe this is not the perfect thing. But I think it's a start because somebody has to get started. And this is a work that needs a lot of people, a lot of experts to do it. But why don't we be the first to kind of raise it up this point? Okay, so I think that's my first role. I think that I managed to do it. But then as we go away now, people will say, then now that you start talking about it, then what is the brand of it? What can I do? Right? And I know this is a lot of work. But I just follow one direction, which is make the complex thing into small things and just keep doing. And that's why the first thing we're doing is to engage with the companies, the local companies, and see how we can help them to scale up their business, build their brands. That's what I'm involved a lot in my everyday now. That's what I enjoy doing, to help the local companies to build their brands. Doing the Vietnam Global Brand Summit to bring, many experts around the world and in Vietnam together, talk about this topic, to share my knowledge with people. So those are the things that I just keep doing, because I know that this is nobody can do everything, but I will just do whatever I can. Yeah.
That is fantastic. And you are doing so many things. One of the things that you've decided to do is to have a a brand summit, yes? So tell us about the brand summit.
Yeah. So we gonna organize a Vietnam Global Brand Summit in this November. And this is the summit that we want to bring everyone together to talk about how we can really become the game changers in terms of brand-led sustainability. This is an area that Vietnam brands can actually do. And this is one of the ways for us to also build Vietnam brands and make it into the global stage. Then this is also the time that we can engage with experts to talk about the Vietnam country brand purpose and why this area of sustainability is important in terms of journey, because the world needs a sustainability growth. And what is the role of the brand in do? So this is the first time we're gonna do this Vietnam Global Brand Summit.
Wow, that's very powerful. And my hope is that anybody who's listening is going to be curious and want to be there.
And I'm so excited that that you can come with us as well, and really looking forward to great people who can come and share their knowledge on this journey with us. Yeah.
Yes, you've invited, and I decided it's a great place to be part of this adventure with you and to support you as we go on the journey of not only living your purpose, but the purpose of Vietnam. In some sense, the distinction of brand and purpose, you could argue, are not that much, because especially at a country level, it's about identity.
Yeah.
Purpose is about identity. Brand's about identity. What is your identity? What's your unique identity? What's your unique gift, which is what purpose is. And in some sense, how do we amplify that so that everybody knows if that's the unique thing they want, here's the place they need to come to experience it. That's what we're working on. And so I'm really excited to work with you on this journey, along with many of the leaders that you're bringing together, so that we can do something that has a huge difference, a huge impact on the world. And I think this is way cooler than selling deodorant or soap. Not to say that those things weren't much fun either. I've had a lot of great fun doing those things. But this feels like a whole different level of purpose and impact. In some ways, it brings much of the hopes and dreams I've had of what this work could be to life, because this makes a difference in many people's lives. So I want to thank you for being the leader that brings that into the world.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
So changing the subject slightly, but related, for reasons that I find very curious, you've also decided you want to have us run the Purpose to Impact program in Vietnam for leaders. And many of them, I would assume, are looking at this and going, why would we want to talk about this topic? Yes?
Yes.
And my sense is you've probably gotten some feedback from people saying, we have such basic things we need to focus on. Why purpose, right?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe we should talk about that.
Yeah.
That's a really good question for people to ask, right? If you're not sitting at a P&G and a Unilever, but you're sitting in a more smaller organization, and you're still trying to make sure you can pay people and you can get whatever it is you make done, or whatever you cooked, it's a little more basic, yes?
Yes.
So I have some thoughts about that, but I'm just curious about what your thoughts are from your place of having lived from the place of purpose in Vietnam.
So now, the time we're living, the world has a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yep.
The world stock market is a little bit vulnerable this day.
Exactly. It's a new day.
So it's a new day. So it's a lot of uncertainty. Vietnam will also kind of be impacted by what the macro world level is. That's why people is also very kind of not so sure about, and they kind of
Yeah.
wondering, would it be the time for me to think about, something that is a little bit not touch and feel, right? It is talking about purpose, right? But I believe, in fact, this is maybe the most important time to talk about purpose, because purpose is about the compass that can guide us through. And when we are in the uncertainty time, this is where purpose can help. And I can actually share an example.
Please.
Yeah. So for myself, I was, a few years back, I basically have a bit of a personal change. I used to live in Singapore, and due to some personal reason, I have to move back to Vietnam.
Yep.
And because of the move back to Vietnam, I also have to change my career plan, because I'm supposed to base outside Vietnam, because I need to do that. And that time it's about COVID, a lot of uncertainty. Nobody wants to lose a job, right, during the COVID time, because you don't know what's going on. But for me, it's the purpose that guides me, because I'm very clear that I need to be in Vietnam for 1 month. And I make the choice. And now I actually think that is one of the best decisions I make in my life. And that is because the purpose guides me through. So that is what I mean, in an uncertain time. Purpose is something that can be the compass.
Thank you for sharing that story. It's very powerful. And I just think that for everyone I've worked with, and you included as your tallest story, purpose is about having us do the hard right over the easy wrong.
Mm.
And in some ways, I think within the world of business and the world of being successful and all the things within Vietnam, how do we help everyone be able to find that compass for themselves that really is that true answer, that in the moment there is no data that's going to help them, but they've got to make the choices anyway? And how do they choose wisely? Because I think in some sense that's what purpose really is about, is accessing that deeper wisdom inside of each of us. That and when we look back, it's the thing that really makes the difference to what we do, who we are, and the impact that we make. The impact we make. So I think that's the invitation. And, whether it's working with DBS Bank in Singapore or Unilever or all the other adventures and people and individuals, and the impact of helping them define purpose and transform their ecosystems from being okay to being world-class. The invitation and the opportunity, I think what you and I are talking about, is how do we bring that same magic that transformed systems that were okay to being world-class to Vietnam. And it's in some sense, purpose is a container that has many things related to it that are all coming together to support people. But it's also about how do we create a community within Vietnam that's committed to that, being that good and being that world-class. And that's in some sense the important thing. Everything else is that community that you're going to bring together and convene in some of these events, that they're going to together help each other to create the brand and the impact that is the unique gift, the purpose, the unique gift. What is it that the unique thing that Vietnam brings to the world that nothing else can bring? And so that's what we're here to play with. And I'm looking forward, so forward to co-creating this journey with you. You as the leader, me as the person helping you, along with many of my other colleagues. And I welcome everyone who's listening to join us on this journey, because this is, very few times do you get to get into the beginning of the journey and get to say you were there. But the opportunity in November is to be able to say at some point in the future that you were there when this thing came to be. So Tri, I want to thank you so much for having our chat today. Any final words for those listening?
First of all, thank you. Thank you, Nick. I think this is a great talk. Every time I share about my purpose, I always feel very fortunate that I had the opportunity to discover my purpose in the journey with you more than 10 years ago. And maybe I would just want to say that, if you don't have a purpose yet, maybe just get started.
Listen,
Thank
you
you.
will say goodbye for now. To everybody listening, there's a future podcast we'll be doing on what all the good things that have happened as a result of the things we're about to do. So look forward to that. And we will see everyone soon on the next Purpose to Impact Hour. Thank you all.